There are moments in life when everything feels uncertain, when dreams appear distant and the path ahead seems filled with obstacles. Yet, it is in those very moments that hidden strength awakens within us. This is not just a story of struggle. It is a story of courage, perseverance, and the unstoppable spirit that turns impossible dreams into reality. Life never promises us a smooth road. For many, the beginning itself feels like an uphill climb. Imagine standing at the edge of your dreams with no support, no guiding hand, and no safety net beneath you. That was the reality for someone who dared to chase a vision larger than life. The world around constantly whispered doubts. You don't belong here. This is not meant for you. You'll never make it. Those words echoed louder than encouragement. But instead of surrendering, they planted a seed of determination. Every rejection became fuel. Every doubt turned into silent fire. What made the difference was not special privilege, not connections, but a deep belief that dreams are worth fighting for. It is in those moments of solitude, when no one claps for you, that you must clap for yourself. And so began a journey, lonely, uncertain, but filled with courage. Because the truth is simple. Greatness never begins in comfort zones. It begins in the storm. The early days were filled with endless auditions, long waits, and countless disappointments. Walking into rooms where faces judged you in seconds, walking out with silence instead of hope, it was crushing. But each failure carved strength. Each no whispered a hidden not yet. It is easy to quit when the doors keep closing, but real fighters keep knocking. They learn that rejection is not the end, but the training ground for resilience. Nights felt heavy with self-doubt. Mornings began with the same question, am I enough? Yet the answer was always discovered in action, not thought. Showing up again and again was an act of rebellion against despair. What many didn't see was the courage behind those small steps, because consistency, not talent alone, builds destiny. In those struggling days, even the smallest wins, like a call back, a kind word, a hopeful smile, became lifelines. The journey taught that dreams are never handed over. They are earned piece by piece with sweat and persistence. Every dreamer faces a crossroad, the point where hope collides with reality. For some, this is where the dream dies. For others, it's where the real story begins. There came a moment when quitting seemed easier, when going back to a safe, ordinary life looked tempting. Family voices echoed you. Maybe this path is not for you. Maybe it's time to be practical. Those words carried love, but also fear. And fear has a way of disguising itself as wisdom. But deep down, one truth kept burning: regret is heavier than failure. Better to fall trying than to spend a lifetime wondering, what if? So instead of stepping back, they stepped deeper into the unknown. Choosing to stay, to fight, to struggle was the boldest decision. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it. That choice marked the difference between a dream abandoned and a dream lived. Opportunities often come quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. One audition seemed no different from the dozens before. The same waiting room filled with nervous faces, the same uncertainty about what would happen next. Yet fate has a way of hiding miracles in routine. A simple call, a few words, "You're selected," changed everything. The world did not pause to celebrate, but inside it felt like fireworks. After years of silence, the first yes arrived, and with it, validation. Not because the world suddenly believed, but because persistence had finally broken through. That day proved an essential truth. When you refuse to give up, the universe eventually listens. Tears, smiles, disbelief, all merged into one unforgettable moment. And while this was just the beginning, it carried a promise. The long nights, the rejections, the doubts had meaning. The struggle was not wasted. It was preparation. Every bruise was proof of endurance, and endurance had finally opened the door. Success never comes alone. It brings new responsibilities. With the first opportunity came pressure, the fear of failing again, this time in front of the world. But instead of shrinking, this fear became fuel. Each day on set was like walking into a battlefield. Every line delivered, every expression performed, felt like proof that they belonged. behind the camera, but nervousness lingered. But once the lights came on, something transformed. Strength replaced doubt, purpose replaced fear. There were mistakes, moments of uncertainty, but growth was constant. What had once been a faraway dream was now a living reality. And though many celebrated the result, few understood the unseen effort, the rehearsals, the sleepless nights, the constant learning. This chapter of the journey whispered a powerful truth. Getting the opportunity is not the end of the battle. It is the beginning of a greater fight. To rise, to improve, and to honor the dream that brought you there. With each step forward, the world began to notice. But recognition is a double-edged sword. Along with admiration came criticism. People judged not only the work, but also the person behind it. Rumors spread faster than truth, and every mistake felt magnified under the spotlight. Yet the harsh gaze of others became another form of training. It taught resilience not just in silence, but in noise. Because true strength is not proven when the world claps, but when it mocks and you still keep going. Instead of running from criticism, it was embraced as fuel for growth. Each harsh word became a reminder to sharpen skills, to rise above. The dream was never about pleasing everyone. It was about staying loyal to passion. And so the journey continued, not in search of approval, but in pursuit of authenticity. Because the world's opinion shifts, but self-belief must remain unshaken. Behind every visible achievement lies an invisible struggle. Long hours of training, endless rehearsals, repeating the same scene until it felt perfect. There were days when exhaustion screamed louder than motivation. Yet the dream demanded sacrifice, of comfort, of time, of even personal relationships. Friends moved ahead in life while this path remained uncertain. At times, loneliness crept in like an uninvited guest. But through it all, one truth became clear: greatness requires isolation. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it grows, dreams too require seasons of solitude before they bloom. And in that silence, strength was built. Each sacrifice, though painful, was a step toward becoming the person who could carry the weight of the dream. The reward was not just progress in career, but transformation of the soul, learning patience, endurance, and the art of standing tall even when the ground shakes. There were unforgettable moments of self-doubt that nearly shattered the spirit. Standing in front of a mirror, asking, am I really meant for this? What if the world is right and I am just pretending? Those questions cut deeper than rejection ever did. But every time the thought of quitting appeared, a vision of the younger self returned. The child who first fell in love with cinema, who first dreamed of telling stories. That innocent spark became a lifeline. Because when the present felt overwhelming, the past whispered reminders of why the journey began. Courage was found not in forgetting fear, but in remembering the dream. Dreams are fragile, yet powerful. They bend but refuse to break. Holding on to that spark in moments of darkness made all the difference. It reminded that self-doubt is temporary, but regret is permanent. And so, the decision was always the same: keep going, no matter how heavy the heart feels. Gradually, the journey turned into something bigger than personal ambition. It became a message. Each breakthrough, each step forward, carried hope for every outsider who dared to dream. It was proof that legacy is not the only doorway. Talent, persistence, and courage can build new doors. Letters and messages began to pour in from strangers who saw themselves in the struggle. They too carried dreams, but were afraid to chase them. And now, this story became their encouragement. It was no longer just about acting or career. It was about lighting a path for others. This realization gave purpose beyond personal success. Every performance became a responsibility, every achievement a symbol of possibility. Because when one person rises against the odds, it sends a powerful message. If I can, so can you. And that message, more than fame or applause, became the true reward of the journey. But success never means the end of struggle. It only changes its shape. The challenges grew bigger, the expectations heavier. Every project carried the weight of proving oneself all over again. The pressure was intense, but pressure is the birthplace of diamonds. Instead of fearing it, it was welcomed as a chance to evolve. Mistakes still happened, but each one became a lesson rather than a defeat. What once felt like obstacles now felt like stepping stones. The same person who once feared rejection now embraced growth, knowing that setbacks were temporary, but resilience was forever. And through it all, gratitude grew stronger. Gratitude for every rejection that built strength, every failure that taught wisdom, every trial that shaped character. Because without the storm, the calm would have no meaning. And so the journey continued, not easier, but deeper, with a heart more prepared for everything yet to come. Fame is a strange companion. On one hand, it brings admiration, lights, and applause. On the other, it brings distance, isolation, and an invisible mask. People saw the glitz, but not the grind. They saw the success, but not the scars. The truth was simple. Behind every shining moment was 100 moments of struggle, fear, and resilience. Fame created pressure to appear perfect, but perfection was never the goal. Authenticity was. Staying true to oneself became the greatest challenge. It meant refusing to bend under the weight of expectations, refusing to become someone else just to fit an image. Authenticity required courage, but it also earned respect, the kind that lasts longer than popularity. Fame tested values, tested humility, tested discipline. But instead of being consumed by it, fame became fuel to work harder, to remain grounded, and to keep honoring the dream with sincerity rather than illusion. Every great journey has moments of silence, times when the world seems to forget you. After the first wave of success, there came a lull, a pause. When offers slowed down, opportunities seemed fewer and doubt returned. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, uncertain of the next step. Many would see it as a fall, but it became a season of growth. In that quiet, there was space to reflect, to sharpen skills, to reconnect with the why behind the dream. Books, training sessions, quiet evenings of self-study, all became investments in becoming stronger. Because when the spotlight fades, the true work begins. And when the next opportunity finally arrived, the preparation done in silence became the reason for excellence in noise. The pause was not punishment, it was preparation. And with that realization, fear of slowing down was replaced by trust in the process. Support systems matter more than the world realizes. Behind the courage to fight were the voices of a few who always believed. A mother's gentle reminders, a father's quiet strength, a friend's late night encouragement. These became invisible pillars holding everything together. They were not seen on stage, but their influence was present in every performance, every success. And sometimes their doubts too played a role, because even doubt became motivation to prove that the dream was possible. Gratitude for these people grew with every step forward. Success is never an individual achievement. It is a collective story, woven with the sacrifices, prayers, and love of many. Remembering this truth kept arrogance away and humility alive. Because no matter how far one rises, remembering where one came from and who helped along the way keeps the journey grounded in humanity. As the journey unfolded, one powerful lesson emerged: growth never ends. Each project, each performance revealed new weaknesses, new areas to improve. Instead of hiding them, they were embraced. Failures were no longer seen as threats, but as teachers. The idea of competition shifted. No longer was it about being better than others, but about being better than yesterday. That mindset changed everything. It replaced jealousy with inspiration, comparison with learning. Instead of fearing others' success, it became motivation to rise higher. Life transformed into a personal marathon, where the only competitor was the person in the mirror. And with every step forward, self-respect deepened. Because when growth is the focus, success naturally follows. And more importantly, joy is found not just in reaching milestones, but in the process of becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient with every challenge. There came a moment when the story shifted from survival to impact. The dream was no longer just about achieving personal goals, but about creating something that outlived the individual. New doors opened. Opportunities to inspire, to mentor, to lift others. Standing in front of young dreamers, sharing struggles, and seeing hope spark in their eyes became a greater reward than applause. It was proof that pain, once transformed into wisdom, could heal and empower others. What once felt like wounds now became gifts, and through this, a new purpose was born to not only succeed, but to help others rise too. Because the true measure of success is not how high you climb, but how many you bring along with you. That realization changed everything. The journey was still personal, but its meaning had become far bigger than one individual. It had become a legacy in the making. Every chapter of growth came with fresh challenges. With bigger projects came higher expectations, and with higher expectations came greater pressure. But pressure was no longer feared. It was embraced as a reminder that something meaningful was happening. Nights of worry turned into nights of preparation. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" the question became, "How can I improve?" That small shift of mindset created extraordinary strength. Perfection was never the goal, but progress was. And progress meant constantly stretching beyond comfort. There were countless moments of exhaustion, times when the body wanted to stop, but the heart insisted on one more try. That relentless spirit became the anchor. The journey had started with a dream, but by now it had transformed into a discipline, a daily commitment to show up no matter what. And in that discipline, success found its strongest foundation. One of the most powerful lessons was learning to handle failure even after success. A project didn't do well, a performance didn't land as expected, and critics were quick to dismiss. In the past, such moments would have broken confidence. But now, they were seen as opportunities to refine. Failure was not the opposite of success. It was the companion of growth. Accepting this truth gave freedom. It meant no longer being paralyzed by mistakes, but using them as stepping stones. Instead of hiding from failure, it was faced with courage. Each setback became a mirror showing what needed improvement. And every comeback carried more strength than the fall. Over time, it became clear the most successful people are not those who never fail, but those who never stop rising after they fall. And with each rise, self-belief grew stronger than before. Amidst all the achievements, there was a constant effort to stay grounded. Success can easily blind, but humility keeps vision clear. Simple rituals, calling family, spending time with old friends, remembering the early days of struggle, kept arrogance away. Gratitude became a daily practice. Every stage, every applause was seen not as entitlement, but as a blessing. And with gratitude came peace. It was no longer about chasing validation, but about cherishing the journey itself. Because true fulfillment is not found in trophies or headlines, but in knowing that you gave your best with honesty and passion. That balance of ambition and humility became the secret strength. It ensured that while the career reached new heights, the heart remained deeply human. And in that humanity lay the true essence of the journey. Success with soul. The journey also revealed the importance of mental strength. The physical demands were intense, but it was the battles in the mind that truly tested resilience. Fear, doubt, comparison, pressure, these were constant voices. But learning to quiet the noise became crucial. Meditation, reflection, and self-talk became tools to guard the mind. Just as the body is trained for endurance, the mind too must be trained for clarity. And over time, mental discipline became the greatest weapon. It brought focus when distractions pulled, calm when chaos screamed, and faith when everything felt uncertain. The realization was clear. Success is not just about talent or opportunity, but about mastering the mind. Because no matter how bright the light outside, without inner strength, it is easy to fall into darkness. Mental resilience became the shield that protected the dream and allowed it to keep shining. With growth came influence, and with influence came responsibility. People listened, watched, and even followed. Words carried weight, actions carried meaning, and this realization shaped a new commitment to use success not just for personal gain, but to inspire positive change. Supporting causes, lending voice to those unheard, and standing for what mattered became part of the journey. It was no longer just about being seen, but about seeing others too. That shift created a deeper sense of fulfillment. The dream that once began as a personal pursuit had now evolved into a platform of impact. Each step forward felt like a chance to make the world a little brighter. And in that, the journey discovered its truest reward, not just achieving success, but transforming it into significance. Every journey, no matter how extraordinary, is built on ordinary days. Waking up early, practicing lines, studying emotions, training the body, and repeating the cycle day after day. These were not glamorous moments, but they were the true backbone of success. Discipline became the bridge between dreams and reality. While the world only saw the highlights, it was the quiet mornings and late nights of effort that shaped the future. The beauty of discipline is that it does not demand talent, it only demands consistency. And consistency over time builds greatness. Each day was an investment, and though results were not immediate, the belief remained strong: effort never goes to waste. Even when no one was watching, even when applause was absent, the work continued. Because real champions are not built under spotlights, but in silence. As achievements grew, so did the vision. The dream that once seemed impossible was no longer just about survival. It was about creating stories that mattered, performances that touched lives, and a legacy that would inspire long after the lights faded. The goal shifted from simply making it to leaving a mark. With this came a deeper hunger to keep learning, to never settle, to never believe that the journey was complete. Because the truth is, dreams do not end when one is achieved, they only evolve into new ones. And so the focus turned toward growth, not for fame, not for validation, but for contribution. The greatest joy was found not in applause, but in the quiet knowledge that something meaningful was being built, step by step, piece by piece. But even as dreams expanded, the heart never forgot where it started. Memories of the first rejection, the first tear, the first moment of doubt still lived within. They served as reminders that humility must remain, no matter how high the climb. For every mountain conquered, there would always be another, and the only way to keep climbing was to stay grounded. Gratitude became the compass. Gratitude for every mentor, every friend, every challenge, every chance. Gratitude for the failures that taught resilience and for the victories that taught responsibility. In the end, gratitude was the thread that stitched every chapter together, ensuring that success did not become arrogance, but remained a blessing. The story was no longer just about one person. It had become a symbol that anyone, regardless of background or resources, can rise if they refuse to quit. That is the power of perseverance. It turns impossibility into proof. And this story, once deeply personal, now belonged to everyone who carried a dream in their heart. It stood as evidence that beginnings do not define endings, and that storms cannot stop those who keep walking. The world often tries to convince us that dreams are too big, too unrealistic, too risky. But this journey proved otherwise. It proved that courage, persistence, and faith can overcome even the strongest walls. And that is the message left behind for every dreamer. Your struggle has meaning, your effort has power, and your dream is worth fighting for. At the end of this journey, one truth shines brighter than all: success is not about where you start, but about how far you are willing to go. From rejection to recognition, from doubt to belief, from struggle to triumph. The path was never easy, but it was worth every step. The story is not a celebration of one individual, but a reminder for everyone you hold within you the strength to rise, no matter how heavy the world feels. The final lesson is simple yet powerful. Never stop believing, never stop trying, and never stop dreaming. Because your story, too, has the power to inspire countless others. If this story touched your heart, give it a like and visit our channel for more inspiring journeys that remind you of the strength you already carry within.